Thanks. All right, good Miniapp morning, everyone. Welcome. Yeah, thanks, BuidlGuidl. Thanks, Austin, for having me here. My name is Horsefacts, and I work for Farcaster. And I'm super excited to talk about Miniapps today. So I'm going to cover a few things today. We'll talk about building Miniapps on Farcaster. Start by talking a little bit about what Farcaster is, just for folks who haven't maybe used Farcaster or used the network before. I'm going to share some examples of interesting Miniapps that have been built in the Farcaster ecosystem, just to show you what's possible and why I think Miniapps are so unique and interesting and such a great opportunity to build on Ethereum right now. And then we'll talk through a few kind of core concepts in Miniapps. And finally, look at a code example that you can fork and run yourself and start playing around with Miniapps today. So yeah, I think right after this talk, Nikolai is going to be here giving a demo on, oh, cool, there he is. Yeah, giving a demo on how to actually use scaffold ETH for building Miniapps. So I'm going to cover kind of today generic examples of kind of the core concepts, and then we'll dig in a little bit further later this morning on how you can use scaffold ETH specifically to bootstrap and build Miniapps. Cool. I guess, yeah, just before I start, too, I'm curious how many folks here have a Farcaster account to start? Awesome. And how many people have built or tried to build a Miniapp? Cool. OK, about half. That's great. Yeah, let's start with Farcaster. So Farcaster is an open, programmable social network built on Ethereum. We've been working on it for about 4.5 years now. And I think at this point, Farcaster is the largest social graph in crypto. We have about 1.2 million accounts and 2.5 million connected addresses on the protocol. So at Farcaster, we use Ethereum to ensure that users own their identity on the network. That means that every account on Farcaster has an Ethereum wallet by default. Your Farcaster ID is similar to an NFT. It's like an ID number that's registered in an on-chain smart contract. It's transferable. You can move it around. And it's kind of an abstraction over Ethereum identity, because in Ethereum, most identities have more than one address, right? It's not just your wallet address, but a number of different wallets and their interactions that are all kind of linked together to compose an identity. So on Farcaster, content like follows, posts, reactions, sort of core social data is stored on a special purpose blockchain that we call Snapchain. On Snapchain, every message is cryptographically signed, just like when you send an Ethereum transaction. And similar to Ethereum, every Snapchain node has a full copy of the network state. So you can sync up a Snapchain node, pull down the entire current state of the Farcaster network, all the posts, all the likes, the entire follow graph. It's open data, and you just have that ready to go, which is pretty cool. It's something you can't do with, say, the Twitter API. So on Farcaster, anyone can pay 20 cents in ETH to a smart contract, generate a new key pair, and start posting messages to the protocol. Anyone who wants to build on top of the protocol can also sync a Snapchain node and build a client or app, or access the follow graph and build on top of it. So the same team that works on Farcaster, including myself, the protocol, also work on Farcaster, the app, which looks like this. Right now, it's a short text social network, pretty similar to Twitter, with the addition of an embedded crypto wallet. So you can do interesting Ethereum things, crypto native things directly in the feed, because we've added this addition of making it really, really easy to interact with Ethereum and crypto from inside the app. So yeah, probably looks pretty similar to Twitter. This is a channel. This is an example of the DevConnect channel and some posts from the past couple days in here. But you can do the typical things you might do on a normal social network. Follow people, write short text posts with embeds and images and media, react, and also interact with Ethereum directly from the feed through this embedded wallet. And though this is the Farcaster app right now, I kind of like to think of this as the demo app for the protocol, because you can build many more things on top of Farcaster, on top of both the protocol and this app as it exists today. And this particular app is just one of them, right? So we've evolved the direction of the network over time, and we'll evolve the direction of this app over time. And it's possible at a lower level to build all kinds of interesting things on top of these primitives of a social graph, follows, embeds, links, et cetera. Plus smart contracts, right? And the entire sort of programmable surface of Ethereum and EVM chains. So if you want to build on Farcaster, there are a lot of different ways you can do it. You can build a client, like a base app, which is the example here. There's also Zapper, Recaster, a bunch of other clients that are full-featured Farcaster protocol clients. It's a great platform for building autonomous agents. So the example here is Banker, which is like a natural language-based interactive wallet that you can interact with in the feed. You can also just build on the social graph, right? Like the data is open, the follow data is open. You can pull down Snapchain and simply use that to bootstrap your own app. So the example here is Zora, but other apps have done this. Share, XYZ is recent, Rodeo, where you just pull in information about users, information about their connected wallets, and sort of use that to enhance your own app's experience or bootstrap your own social graph. And then finally, you can build Miniapps, which is what I want to talk about today. These are interactive web apps that are directly embedded in the Farcaster social feed and also discoverable in Farcaster client apps. So yeah, the example here is the demo mini app that I built originally, which is called Yoink. It's like a simple capture the flag game. Cool. So what's so great about mini apps? I think mini apps are the best way right now to ship fast, to get discovered, to retain users, transact seamlessly, and to build on top of social. So here's an example of the mini app browser screen in Farcaster. This is actually a couple versions ago, but it still looks more or less like this. And at the moment, we have lots and lots of mini apps built on top of Farcaster. There are mini apps for games, NFT minting, prediction markets, DeFi, trading, launching tokens, selling merch, personality tests, podcasts, live streams, chat, social networking, and much, much more. As of today on Farcaster, there are thousands of mini apps with hundreds of thousands of unique users doing millions of transactions on Base, Ethereum, and other EVM networks. Yeah, and by the way, we have a lot of usership on Base and Ethereum L1, but Farcaster, the app itself, supports a number of EVM networks. So it's not just Base only. In fact, our contracts are built on Optimism, and it's very easy to interact with really any L2 or Ethereum network. So I'm personally really excited about mini apps. In fact, I think they're like one of the most interesting things that's happened in crypto since I've been involved in it in like 10 years, because they help solve two really, really big problems. And those are monetization and distribution. These are two huge challenges for every indie builder I've ever met, like both inside and outside of crypto. Yeah, this was my story. I shared this on Farcaster when I was thinking about this problem. But yeah, before I was in crypto, I had so many cool, stupid side projects that never shipped because they couldn't pay for themselves. My weekend was over by the time I set up Stripe, by the time I configured my billing alerts, and I would like live in fear of the idea of building an app that paid for itself, but dealing with things like fraud, chargebacks, unexpected AWS bill. Crypto solved this problem in a super interesting way. You can build autonomous apps and systems that are built on top of smart contracts, and you can make them pay for themselves. But of course, it didn't solve the UX problems, right? After crypto started, I had so many cool, stupid side projects that I simply never shipped because I had no distribution. I would write the contracts, I would test the contracts, I would spend my weekend building a cool front end, write the tweet, throw it out there, and just hope that you get 10 likes. In crypto, I would live in fear of a smart contract bug, but I would actually die because nobody knew how to use my app or find it or connect their wallet. So Miniapps really help solve this problem, and today we have good tech that makes it possible for you to do it all. Yeah, curious if others have had this experience, like if you've had a cool idea that you simply didn't build because it wasn't feasible because of cost or technology. It's happened to me a lot. So anyways, I think if you're building a product, a mini app is a great way to do a few things, right? You can get your first 1,000 users, get your app distributed in feed, in front of people who can try it out directly in the feed. If you're building a new crypto product, it's a great test bed for kind of finding those first 1,000 users, getting feedback on your idea, kind of testing it for product market fit. If you want to make money, mini apps are a great way to make that first $1,000, natively connected to payments and crypto and Ethereum, and so you have an opportunity to really monetize what you're building in a new and interesting way. And if you're a creator, if you're not necessarily a technical person, but just creating content or doing creative things, they're a great way to find your 1,000 true fans. Oh, yeah. I looked this up last night. This was the first Ethereum contract I ever deployed. It looks like I paid $887 to deploy it. I remember waiting till early in the morning on Sunday morning when gas was super low. It looks like it was still 110 Gwei back then. And here were the number of interactions with that contract, right? I recall carefully building this front end. It was kind of a labor of love for me. My first smart contract. I was so proud of it. And there were 10 total transactions, right? I just couldn't get distribution for this app. I think out of those 10 transactions, 7 were other people, and it had 3 total users. So this is the problem I think we can solve with Miniapps, and this is what I'm so excited about in terms of sharing this with you, and why I'm so excited to work on Miniapps and build these into Farcaster. It solves this distribution problem and solves monetization. And yeah, when I say you can have it all now, I mean it. I think we're in an interesting time in crypto right now where there's a confluence of really good tech that makes it possible to empower individuals to build new crypto experiences. And for me, this is something that's always been exciting about crypto, is the ability to empower individuals to do new and interesting things. So right now we have fast, cheap L2s like Base and Optimism. We have stablecoin payments. We're getting to really good embedded wallets. We have one built into the Farcaster app and built into the Base app where you might distribute Miniapps as well. We're starting to get a strongly connected and kind of sufficiently interesting social graph on Farcaster that you can use to enhance your apps and really use social data. We simply have the emergence of new Legos, things like Miniapps, not just in Farcaster, but in ecosystems like World and Telegram and elsewhere. And we also have AI tools, right, which has really reduced the barriers to building a new app and made it cheaper and easier for anyone to build. So I'm excited about all of these things, and they kind of all come together in Miniapps as a way that you can build cool things, empowers you to build cool and interesting stuff. So finally, in terms of distribution, a really unique and interesting thing about Miniapps is that you can build once and get distribution across multiple platforms and clients on Farcaster. So here on the left is the Yoink app as displayed in the Farcaster app. Here on the right is Yoink displayed in the Base app. Same simple mini app, but distributed to both all the active users on Farcasters and soon to be distributed to millions of users on Base app who have that app already installed. So yeah, this is a cool and unique characteristic of building mini apps on an open social network. So I think seeing is believing. So I want to quickly show you a few of my favorite mini apps, and want to kind of call out things that I think here are really interesting and uniquely possible by building on top of decentralized social. So yeah, the first one here is Tippen. This is a simple tipping micropayments-based mini app. And the way this works is you set a USDC allowance from your connected wallet. This mini app watches your likes as you interact with people on Farcaster, like scrolling in the feed. You'll like, recast, interact with people. And by reading that open data from the network, it pays attention to what you're liking, who you're interacting with, and sends a micropayment for each interaction on the network. So I have this configured I think this demo I set it to like 10 cents, 1 cent, 2 cents. But yeah, you can see here are in my wallet history all the interactions and micropayments that are made to users I've interacted with on the network. And this is cool. It's only possible right now because we have cheap, stable transactions on L2s like Base. This is an idea lots of people have tried in crypto before, but like the tech wasn't quite there. It was either too expensive with transaction costs or too slow, or we simply didn't have the open data, right, the identity layer, to be able to build something like this. And yeah, an especially cool thing about Tippen is that a user can sign up to Farcaster, start using Tippen, use this app, interact with people, and they just receive USDC to their wallet, right? So it's a way that users can actually earn their first crypto rather than buy it or send it. And I think that's really cool. We've seen users who have joined Farcaster started interacting and start to kind of participate in the Farcaster economy simply by being on the network and receiving funds that flow from user to user through the social graph. OK, next one is Settle. So Settle is a mini app for making real-world payments here in Buenos Aires. You can find a directory of local businesses in here and pay with stablecoins out of your Farcaster wallet just by scanning a QR code, as well as look up users and send peer-to-peer payments. So I think this one is really cool because the mobile form factor that many apps are focused on makes it uniquely possible to build apps that interact with the real world. Right? So you can access a QR scanner in here. You can build apps like this for peer-to-peer payments. And I just think it's really, really cool to see apps that kind of come off the internet and into the real world. So it's been so cool to see this built for DevConnect and see people actually out in the real world using that. Like anytime crypto kind of extends into the real world, I think this is very cool. And yeah, I'd say like the interesting and unique thing here is that it's enabled by interacting with native features on mobile, like scanning a QR code. So next is Emerge. This one is super, super cool. This is a mini app that generates images based on your social graph and your PFP. So it generates kind of AI workflows that can creatively change or modify or enhance your PFP and read data from your social graph. So the way this works is you can tag a bot in the feed, and it will create an AI workflow that transforms your profile photo. So yeah, here I have this little one saying, like, put a gaucho costume on my PFP. The bot replies back to me with this mini app, generates an AI workflow, and I can open that up right away and see this image that was generated. So I think there are a bunch of cool things about Emerge, but it's particularly cool to me in a few ways. One is that it accepts stablecoin micropayments for access to the AI tools. Right, like image generation, some of these AI models are metered and expensive. This is using micropayments to make it easy for people to access these tools. So you can pay 25 cents, I think, to do a generation. You can use any token in your wallet, and it automatically converts that to USDC and makes the payment. So this is a cool and interesting new model, I think, for like metering interactions with more complicated tools, right? The sort of thing that I'm used to maybe need to fund API credits for or whatever. You can sort of make apps that pay for themselves. So this is a really cool property of Emerge. The second thing I think is interesting is that it creates this market for users to create new and interesting workflows. So when you pay a quarter to do this, some portion of that goes to simply funding the AI generation workflow. Some portion of it, though, goes back to the creator of the workflow, right? So it kind of creates this two-sided market where people can be creative in the feed, and it's another opportunity to earn stablecoins for doing creative things in the feed. And then the third thing I think that's particularly interesting is that it does a really good job of creating a viral loop by using embeds in the feed. So these Emerge generations really do a great job of going viral. When you hit on an interesting one, people love to share it back to the feed. You will see these kind of take over the feed as you see a new and interesting and fun generation take off. And so it does a great job of, you can see it sort of shares back the image and shares back an embed here, so you can find the app, discover it in feed, and easily find and interact with it. All right, a few more. I have a lot of favorites. I could probably do a full hour on this. Crowdfund. This is a simple mini app for stablecoin crowdfunds. It's like Kickstarter or GoFundMe. I really love this one because it just puts USDC that's circulating in the Farcaster economy to use in the real world. So this mini app has funded podcasts, books, research projects, donations, inside jokes, many, many good causes on Farcaster. So you can find and support crowdfunds in feed. And I think, in particular, the embeds here do a really, really good job of using social graph context to make a compelling embed. So you'll see they show, for a crowdfund, how much was funded, the profile photos of specific users who have funded it. It's a great way to have a call to action that kind of closes that loop of going viral and being discovered in the feed, and then getting people to come back to the app. Miniword. This is one of my very favorite apps. I love it because it has almost nothing to do with crypto. It's a daily crossword puzzle competition that has a competitive leaderboard. So by using the social graph here, showing my friends and enemies, and letting me brag in the feed, Miniword has kept me coming back for close to 200 days. And it does use crypto for one small thing. You can just easily pay $5 to support it. And when you do that, you get like a special little halo that shows up on the leaderboard. So I think this is great as an example of a successful, very independent, self-funded side project that just asked people to pay $5 and now sustains and funds itself. And then the last one is Warplets. This was an amazing recent success story on Farcaster. It was a generative NFT mint mini app that basically, kind of similar to Emerge actually, it turned your PFP into one of these freaky little Warplet creatures, which have kind of become the unofficial mascot of Farcaster. This app went viral in the feed. It was like a $1 mint and resulted in over 49,000 mints when people found it and got excited about this app and kind of created this viral effect on Farcaster. So this really took over Farcaster. For a whole week, these Warplets were all over the feed. And the indie dev who made this as a side project made, I think, at the time, over $100,000 from the mint and its creator fees. So that's cool. It's cool to get paid for the work that you do. But actually what I think is most interesting here is the way that this was remixed, the way that this was used to build kind of composable reimaginings and things that built on top of the Warplet NFT. So once everyone had minted this NFT, it was possible to build on top of it. This is a smart contract, so it's composable, it's usable. And we saw all kinds of interesting experiments over the course of the next week. Derivative NFTs, remixes, games, all sorts of reimaginings. And this was possible because the NFTs were on-chain. It's possible because it's like strongly connected to your social profile, to your social data. And yeah, like many things in Ethereum, I think the best mini apps are composable and remixable and reusable. OK, so based on this, a few principles. We've seen like a lot of mini apps on Farcaster, and I think these are the top 4 principles for building compelling, engaging experiences. Number 1 is use notifications. So mini apps give you access to native notifications within Farcaster clients. And this is a super, super useful tool for re-engaging your users, letting them know what's going on with your app, bringing them back into your app when there's an interesting thing to tell them about. They can also be overused, so like be sensitive to the way that you use them. Think carefully about how you use them. But yeah, number 1 thing is use notifications. Number 2 is design engaging embeds. So this is the surface for your mini app in the feed. Do what you can to make those look interesting and engaging. Number 3 is use the social graph. So as much as you can, enhance the context of your app and its data by using information from the social graph. And number 4, charge $1. Like monetize your app. You have the opportunity to get paid for the work that you do and for what you're building. And it's possible to build apps that fund themselves on top of Farcaster. OK, so let's do a quick crash course on how mini apps work and how to build them. I want to talk about a few fundamental concepts in mini apps and kind of build them up from the ground up today. So if you drop right into the mini app dev tools on Farcaster or like read our detailed dev docs, this can be a little bit overwhelming. There are all these concepts of manifest, previews, headers, signatures. And what I want to try to do today is just like simplify this down to a few fundamentals. So we'll go over like 5 important concepts in mini apps a few times in a few ways. I want to talk about the mini app model, using the SDK, interacting with wallets, creating embeds, and publishing your app. And then hopefully if we have time, we'll look at a live demo and kind of look at each of these in a real app that you can fork. All right, so here are the big 5 ideas. Number 1, mini apps are web apps. If you can build a web app, you can build a mini app. Number 2, mini apps can access native features like notifications and haptics. They can interact with the user's wallet. Users will discover them in the social feed through embeds. And they can also find them by searching and browsing for them in Farcaster clients. So one more time, they're web apps. You can access native features like notifications by using a JavaScript SDK. You can interact with the wallet using standard Ethereum tooling. You distribute them by creating embeds that go into the social feed. And you can also distribute them by publishing information about your mini app that makes them discoverable in clients. So like all of the seemingly technical stuff, all the jargon that's out there maps onto these 5 core concepts. So number 1, mini apps are web apps. The most important thing I think about the mini app model is that these are just web apps. That means you can do anything you can do in a web app in a mini app. It also means you can use the tools you already know and love to build them. So if you like React or Vite or whatever stack you prefer, you can use it. They're just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, so you can use whatever framework and stack you want. And in fact, I know of like prolific mini app builders, maybe some in this room, who use vanilla.js, who use PHP, who use all kinds of crazy things for mini apps. I think most people I work with and I've seen use React and a stack like Vite or Next. But the cool thing about apps is you can bring the tools that you know and love already. This also means you can build fully interactive applications that make use of most of the things you can do in a modern browser. So as we've developed mini apps, it's been really exciting to see people kind of discover those capabilities in real time. Things like streaming audio, location, camera access, and WebGL. So specifically, mini apps render in iframes on web and web views in the mobile app. There are some cross-compatibility gotchas, so it's always good to test in both of those environments. And since they're web apps, it means it's also possible to convert your existing web app into a mini app, or design a mini app that exists outside of the Farcaster feed and works equally well as a standalone website. OK, so yeah, key point here. Sorry, I kind of like hammer it a lot, but these are just web apps. They're built with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Your mini app is a website served somewhere on a server on the web, and you can access it at some URL, just like a website. So keep this inside the room so people still think the work is mysterious and important. But when you hear mini app, just think in your head, it's a website at a URL somewhere on the internet. So quick code example, this is like the minimum viable React mini app. We are importing the Farcaster SDK. We have a little effect in here that says, hey, the app is ready as soon as it renders. And then we're just returning a hello world message here. So if you know React, hopefully this looks familiar already. And there's not much here on top of like what you might build in an existing web app to turn this into something that functions as a mini app. OK, so how about these? So mini apps are enhanced with native capabilities. In addition to the stuff you can do on the web, you can also enhance them with the ability to do things in the app that they're embedded inside, right? So access native capabilities like haptics and send notifications and do stuff that you might want to do in a mobile or in the Farcaster context. So the way this works is mini apps interact with the host by using a JavaScript SDK that sends commands from the iframe or the web view over a message bridge back to the application that's embedding them. So you can think of this almost like, if you're more familiar with Ethereum, it's almost like Ethereum JSON RPC over this little message bridge. You can use an imperative JavaScript SDK to do things like send notifications, authenticate the user, view profiles, swap tokens, open URLs, and trigger haptic feedback. So the cool thing here is that this lets you extend your web app with new capabilities and behaviors that really look and feel native. You can also access context information about who launched the app, what context it's launching in, and get information about kind of how it was launched and who launched it. So I kind of lied before. Mini apps are web apps, but they also are enhanced with all these extra features that you can pull in by using the Mini App SDK. Here's a quick example of triggering a haptic. So you can just call this SDK haptics impact occurred. When you push this button, we call that callback function, and this triggers a little vibrating bump in your app. So this is pretty cool. It lets you kind of access native features that are usually otherwise not available to you in the web. And here's an example of what the context looks like inside a mini app. So when you launch into an app, this is the information that you get about how it launched, where it came from. And the cool thing here is you get information about who launched it and how they did it, right? So in this case, the FID of the user, that's like the user's Farcaster ID, their username, their display name, the hash of the Farcaster cast that interacted with it. And so this really lets you build interesting interactive experiences that rely on sort of where the entry point to the app was for your user. OK, interacting with wallets. So the Mini App SDK, in addition to these actions, also exposes an EIP 1193 Ethereum provider. Putting that more simply, it just injects a wallet that is automatically connected to your app. So this means you can interact with the wallet without needing to pop up like a multiple select wallet dialog. It means you can do it without making a flaky connection to a remote server. It also means, like similar to building on top of web apps, you can use whatever tools you prefer to use to interact with the Ethereum wallet. So if you like Ethers.js, you can pull that into your app and use it. If you like VM and WagMe, you can use that. If you want to just send calls directly to the provider, you can use that. And in fact, this provider emits an event that announces itself. So in some cases, you may even be able to just use the injected provider directly. You might not even need to pull in a library at all. Here's what this looks like in a mini app context. This is like a typical configuration using WagMe, which is a library for using React hooks to interact with Ethereum. In this case, we're connecting to Base. We're pulling in the Farcaster Miniapp connector and using that to kind of do our WagMe configuration. And then if you're interacting with a contract, this looks a lot like it does in other conventional web apps. This is an example from Yoink, that capture the flag that I showed you earlier. But yeah, we're just using the conventional WagMe write contract hook here to make a function call to a specific smart contract. So in fact, in a lot of ways, I think you can kind of think of mini apps as the next evolution of dApps. If you see here on the left is Morpho as an example. Web app on the left, the app inside a dApp browser in the middle, and the mini app on the right. I think Morpho is a beautiful interface that looks and works great in all three of these contexts. But you can see mini apps really simplify the model by automatically connecting your active wallet, really simplifying the interface to be mobile first, and kind of designing with this mobile first UX in mind. All right, concept for embeds. So mini apps appear in the feed as embeds, and this is how users will discover your mini app. So for the most part, users discover mini apps organically in the social feed. You can go browse and search for them in the app, but the main way that apps actually go viral and get distribution on Farcaster is by creating really compelling embeds. So mini apps are web apps. They have URLs, and what you can do at those URLs is use embeds, use a meta tag, like an Open Graph meta tag, to turn a URL into an interactive surface that has an image and a call to action instead of plain text links. And this works using really old standard web technologies. We use meta tags in the HTML and basically the Open Graph standard to turn interactive, to create these interactive embeds. So basically any page in your app can create an embed, simply add this tag to the HTML, and that becomes an entry point into your app. You can give it a customized image, a customized call to action, and when this renders in the feed, we pull it in, parse that meta tag information, and render it as this nice dynamic embed. Here's what an embed meta tag looks like. A little bit of a Frankenstein combination of HTML and JavaScript here, but we're smuggling in some JavaScript data in a conventional meta tag header here. So FC mini app tag, and then this JavaScript data that describes what the button title should be, an image you can point to for your embed, and yeah, some more information about how to launch it. This meta tag produces an embed that looks like this in the feed, much more compelling and interesting to look at than the raw code. But yeah, you can do here, for example, you see I have a dynamic number in here, right? So we're generating this image as more and more people capture the flag. We're incrementing that number. And so you can see a compelling, dynamic, interesting, changing image in the feed here. So yeah, and then just press that button, click start, and you're dropped directly into this mini app. OK, final concept is publishing extra data for discovery. So the concept here is what's called the mini app manifest. But you can think of this as just a file that you put on your mini app website that describes extra information about your app, so users can find it and clients can index it. So this is basically, yeah, how Farcaster clients discover and index information about your mini app. Essentially, since there's no central app store, mini apps need to publish information about things like the category that they're in, or the screenshots of the app, their description, who built it, et cetera. And they do this by creating a special JSON file, which they host at a well-known location, right? So you put that at a special URL. This kind of a convention that any app can go find this, parse that, and figure out this extra information about your mini app. Yeah, and I actually hear from devs a lot who will come to us and ask, like, how do I get approved for the Farcaster App Store, right? How do I get my app into there? And the interesting answer is there is no central app store, right? Like the way that you do that, it's really much more like a search index than it is an app store. There's no gatekeeper of who shows up in this store. All you need to do is post this file on your mini app site, where we can find it, we'll go pull it in, index it, and display it in the feed. Here's an example of what this manifest file looks like. It has two important parts. So up at the top, you can see this account association. This is a cryptographic signature over some of the information in your app. It's over the domain in your app, signed by your Farcaster account, which lets us attribute who actually built this app in a verifiable and strong way to your Farcaster identity. This is maybe one of the trickier parts of building these. We have a tool built into Farcaster that makes it easy to generate these from your Farcaster account. We won't spend a ton of time on this, but the concept here is that you can get this strong and usable association between the mini app and who built it. And then, the second thing in here is just a bunch of additional data that can be used to publish information about your app. So version of the app, name of the app, icons, images, and some sane defaults in here for when you render the app outside of an embed context. OK, so putting it all together one more time. Your mini app is a web app. It's on a server somewhere with embed metatags in its HTML. It can do native stuff by using a JavaScript SDK. And it publishes information about itself at a known URL so clients and users can find it. OK, this was a real speed run. We didn't cover a few other things here like authentication, sending notifications, using webhooks, all the different SDK actions. There's like a lot of surface area in mini apps. But I'd encourage folks who want to build today, go check out the docs at miniapps.xyz. We have pretty extensive docs and a good guide to getting started and all the different things you can do and build in mini apps. I also have a demo here. We can run through it in the next 10 minutes or so. If you want to grab this, so this is a Forkable replit that you can use as an example to build a mini app. And let's take a look at it. Cool. So if you don't want to use Replit, you can also grab this app here from GitHub, Horsefacts, Mint Mini App. This is kind of a starter. This is what we're looking at. And let me show this in VS Code. We'll do a quick speed run of these important concepts and how they map into the code. So you can see this app. Let's start with the package JSON in here. This is a pretty standard Vite and React app. We're building on top of Vite, which is a React framework. We have TypeScript. We have some common utilities here for Ethereum, WagMe. And then we have, the Farcaster Miniapp SDK and Farcaster WagMe connector here. So those are the core dependencies you'll need to turn just a standard React app into a mini app. So concept one is right here. This is just a standard web app. You can see here we're setting up a WagMe provider to interact with wallets, query provider, and then we have our app. And if you look through this, this is hopefully a pretty familiar, pretty standard-looking React app. Concept two here is how we're using the SDK for these native capabilities. So here we're importing the SDK. And it's commented here if you want to pull the code and follow along. But we're using a few of these different SDK capabilities. So we're calling ready, which signals that the app is ready when it loads. Add mini app to save it to the user's app. View profile to open user's profile. Compose cast. Some of these different actions are throughout the code base here. This little effect is important. This is kind of the most important part. If you're building a mini app, this is what hides the splash screen and says, hey, my app is ready to render. This just makes them feel nice and performant when they load. But we're doing two things in here. We're grabbing the context, storing that in some state, and also saying, hey, this mini app is ready to load. So this example is like a simple NFT mint. It's just connected up to a smart contract and lets you tap a button to mint a token. And I won't go through like all the details of these components here, but we have a little card that shows the artwork, a button that does the actual contract interaction, and then a little bottom sheet that pops up here on success or failure. In fact, let's pop over and demo it for a sec. Here's what this looks like in the feed. So in this component up here at the top, we are reading the app context. So this is showing who has opened the app and launched it. If you demo this and try this yourself, this will read the context for your own interaction with the app and should show your username and PFP. And then I have this wired up right now so that you can kind of just swap out the config and the details to a highlight NFT, just a simple NFT that you can set up. But if we tap here, we'll do a wallet request. And then I can share this back to my home feed. So that's really the core of like the viral loop in building a mini app is, open the app, the user discovers it through an embed, do something, hopefully interacting with an Ethereum wallet or doing something interesting on chain, and then share it back to the feed to get other people to find it and discover it and continue that loop. OK, so that's sort of the first two concepts. Mini apps are web apps. Secondarily, you can use the SDK to do stuff in your app. Let's look at the third, which is connecting to an Ethereum wallet. So here's where we're using WagMe, kind of a standard library for interacting with React and doing Ethereum stuff with the React app. And here's where we're configuring this connector. We're importing a custom Farcaster Miniapp connector, which you just sort of pass into your usual WagMe config. And this is cool as well because it can live alongside other connectors for WagMe. So you can kind of have an app that exists both outside the Farcaster feed and as a mini app in feed. And in terms of the actual interactions, these are in this collect button component. Here's how this works. We're importing kind of standard WagMe hooks here. Use write contract, connect to wallet, use wait for transaction receipt. And then here's this actual interaction with the wallet when you are minting the token to make a request. So if you've already minted, we'll prompt you to add the mini app. If you're doing a new transaction, we clear the state. If your wallet's not already connected, connect it up. And then here, just use write contract async to call the mini app, call the smart contract function. All right, concept 4, embeds. So in invite, this is a little bit tricky. We're doing this by, at build time, reading and inserting these embed tags. So this is one thing that I couldn't really clearly show in this simple React example. But if you look here in this vite config, we're pulling in some config from this file here that defines our meta tags. Here's our embed config. And then we have basically a little build time script that reads that and injects it here into the markup of the page to create an embed. But you can just imagine here, right, we have a meta tag here. Type equals FC Miniapp. It has some content, and this just gets injected at build time into our app to create this embed. And the tool you can use to test these in the development environment is this embed tool in the Farcaster Miniapp tools. Let me, in fact, show you how this embed appears in the markup. Cool. So here it is. You can see this page has this embed tag. If we go grab the URL for this Miniapp entry point, and we fetch it through the DevTools, we parse out, we find that embed tag, and here's the preview of the embed that we would render in the feed. So when you see this in the feed, this says, here's an entry point to my Miniapp. Click this, open it, and launch the Miniapp from here. OK, final concept is the manifest. So you can find this in here as a static file in this public, well-known directory. Yeah, and here's this simple file publishing information about this Miniapp. So other apps and clients and users can find this and index it. So concretely on the web, you can find it right here. This is always at this path, well-known farcaster.json. OK, and there it is. So yeah, anyone who sees this Miniapp on the web, right, when we see an embed, we see there's a new Miniapp, we can go parse this, pull this data, and ingest it to index this and surface it in Farcaster. And the simple way you can do this, right, this is just a JSON file that's on your web server. You sort of fill this out, put this in a static location where anyone can find it. So the hard part here is probably signing, generating this account association and signing it. To do this, you can use the Miniapp manifest tools built into the Farcaster DevTools. Yeah, and there are docs on how to kind of use these tools and how to use all this at miniapps.xyz. Let me put the replit back up here. Cool. So yeah, if you want to try this Forkable example or find the GitHub repo, you can scan that QR, hit that URL, and I think this is a good framework, like a good starting point for playing around with the exact demo that I just showed you there. Cool. We have like 2 minutes if anyone has questions. Yeah.
It's called CryptoPulse. But we didn't, we kind of push it through very fast. So we didn't like thought about notifications, all the stuff that you talked about. So we didn't build like a user base enough for the app to show up in the, like when you search it, it doesn't show. We just have to share the link so people to see it. I'm just a graphic designer. I made the graphic design. I have my brother is the developer, and another friend is the UX designer. But what do you recommend us, like to move on to the next thing or keep pushing with this app?
Yeah. So we're tuning that a little bit, and hopefully you don't need to, like, hopefully a few interactions with that app should be enough to start surfacing it in indexing and in the feed. But my main piece of advice is to try to surface your app through embeds, right? Because that's natively how people will find it. Like, that's natively where they'll see it in the feed. And actually, like, looking at the data, something like 85% of users get to Miniapps through seeing embeds in the feed and not by, like, going to the search page and finding it. Yeah, but also we want apps to be indexed and found. So, like, you can always reach out to us if it's not indexed and you expect it to be. Like, maybe it's a bug and we'll fix it. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, everyone. I'll hang out for the rest of the day. If folks have questions about Farcaster apps or the docs, I'm happy to sit down and help you. Yeah, and I think Nikolai is going to show specifically using Scaffold ETH, kind of an example of using those tools next, which should be really cool. Thanks.